The Sound of Doubt podcast is also available to listen to on iTunes, Spotify, and Audible. So if you want to listen to your podcast, you can go check it out there. If not, what's up, guys? Things are not always as they seem. The news may have seemed kind of boring this week, but I'm going to tell you why, as seemingly unimportant as this past week was, it's actually very important. Let me tell you why. Coming right up on the Sound of Doubt. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Sound of Tao podcast. How are we all doing, everyone? You may have felt like this was sort of a boring news week, and don't get me wrong, it kind of was. But what you're actually witnessing, folks, are the first steps of an authoritarian takeover in the United States. And you might say, Vince, we already know that. But this actually runs much deeper than you might think, you might realize it is, okay? And let's just go through it. Let's just explain the news this week, but tell you what's really going on here, how this is contributing to an ultimate end goal of authoritarianism and a one-party state in this country. And let's just get started. So first, what does an authoritarian regime first need to do in order to take power? Well, first of all, they need to erase the past, right? They need to destroy your past ideas of any sort of history or a positive legacy that the people of the past may have left behind, because knowing the past, the same reason they burn books, knowing the past inhibits you from being completely loyal to the present, from being completely loyal to the party. Okay? And we've already seen Joe Biden's attempts to erase American history. And not just erase American history, erase anything that might make people see American history in a positive light. Okay? That's why the first day in office, Joe Biden got rid of the 1776 Commission. Why was that so important to Joe Biden? Very simple. Their end goal here is authoritarianism, is total control. And in order to do that, they have to rewrite the history. Right? 1984. Who controls the past, controls the present, controls the future. That's what's going on here. And a lot of it is being done sort of underneath your eyes, right? Because a lot of us looked at the 1776 Commission and we were upset that Joe Biden got rid of it. But did any of us ever stop to realize just how sheer and massive the magnitude of what he's doing is? Like, it's not just him overturning a Trump executive order because he doesn't like blah, blah, blah. Like, no, there's actually a very deep-rooted agenda going on here. I would argue even the same thing with taking Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill. Okay? Because if you guys didn't hear, the Biden administration is planning to replace Jackson on the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman. And honestly, at first, I was a little bit gullible and I was sort of like, that's not a big deal. Harriet Tubman is a great figure of U.S. history. True. Andrew Jackson, a little bit flawed. And I was like, what? I don't know if I do it personally, but I was like, well, whatever. It's fine, right? Not a big deal. But then I stopped and thought about it. And I was like, no, this is actually a much bigger deal than I realized it was. Because I stopped and saw and I was like, where have I seen this before? And I was like, that's where I've seen this before. And then I realized this. And I'm willing to bet money on this, okay? The removal of Andrew Jackson off of the $20 bill, which to you may seem minute, will eventually be used as justification as that first stepping point into taking George Washington and all the other founders off the money. And don't call me crazy for that, because we've already seen stuff like that happen, okay? We already saw it. We just want to take down statues of Robert E. Lee because he owned slaves. Everyone's sort of like, okay, fine. But then what happens? Oh, you know who else owned slaves? George Washington. Let's take down his statues too. You know who else was racist? Abraham freaking Lincoln. Even though Abraham Lincoln was significantly less racist than most people of his time, he was still racist. Let's tear it down. Let's tear down all of American history. All the founding fathers need to come down. Everyone who's white that we as a country sort of all like, come bring them all down. Then I realized that's exactly what's happening here, folks. Okay? And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. But let me tell you something. Let me predict it, okay? I absolutely swear to you that taking Jackson off the 20 is not the end of it. And we've already seen it before. A lot of us just didn't put it together the first time we saw it. But now, do you guys now see it? Do you guys now realize it? Okay. It is just a small stepping point in a greater effort to completely destroy the 1776 view of American history and replace it with the 1619 view of American history. And that's the first step. They need that. They need that because in order to tear down every foundation of America and replace it with this new hellhole that they want to replace it with, you need to get rid of this commonly held notion by most Americans that the system is good. The system may not be perfect, but it is built on good foundations and we can continue building on it. And that's not what they want, right? They don't believe in the values of 1776. They don't believe in the values of the Declaration of Independence. That's why they're trying so hard. But they know that most Americans do, but that's why they're trying so hard. First, before they come for those principles directly, first they have to get rid of the people who stood for those principles. And first, in order to get to them, they have to sort of work their way up there, right? So it starts with Andrew Jackson. Soon it's going to be George Washington. Soon it's going to be Thomas Jefferson. And it's all going to start with something that seems kind of popular, like, oh, taking Andrew Jackson off the 20. Okay, he was a flawed person. He definitely was. No denying that. But that's not where it ends. We all know that's not where it ends. Okay, so that is step one of the slow and gradual authoritarian takeover we are seeing in this country. Okay? And every time, you're going to see it a lot over the next 4 years. You're going to see, now let's cancel historical figure A, B, and C. It's going to inch closer and closer to the founding fathers. Just take we already saw it happen last summer. I mean, I don't think I'm even sounding crazy when I say it. So keep your eyes peeled. Next, once they get rid of the history, what do? They have to control the truth in the present, right? And listen, a good authoritarian doesn't just distort the truth, right? A good authoritarian is able to provide an absolute mirror image of the truth. They're able to take the opposite of the truth and present it to you as truth. That's what you see happening. I saw it happen again this week. I was like, this is all coming together now, okay? Example, Andrew Cuomo cares about science. Andrew Cuomo did a good job with COVID. Andrew Cuomo is a transparent politician who wouldn't lie to you about COVID deaths. Gavin Newsom is a good governor of California. Jen Psaki is a highly competent, skilled, and professional press secretary. All things we know and can clearly see are completely bogus, but yet are presented to you by the people who control information in this country as objective fact. Sound familiar? You guys might have seen this week. And we always say to these people that they're total hypocrites. Andrew Cuomo is such a hypocrite. He is. But why are they being such hypocrites? You guys might have heard this week, a report from the New York Attorney General came out that found that Andrew Cuomo, the Cuomo administration, literally was undercounting nursing home COVID deaths by as much as 50%. 50% intentionally done to undercount and cover up the whole nursing home disaster that took place by the COVID administration. Yet that same week, check out what Andrew Cuomo was saying on TV.
What I've found all through this crisis is people value the truth. Give me the information. Mm-hmm. Don't give me spin. Give me facts that don't change. Tell me the truth. Incompetent government kills people. Incompetent government kills people. More people died than needed to die in COVID. That's the truth. These are professionals. They understand that it's not spin and politics. You're talking about human life.
And of course, his fellow propaganda minister on MSNBC, that news anchor, just totally nodding along, smiling like, yes, Andrew, you're so right. Total hypocrites, right? That's what someone's going to say. Total hypocrite. He literally was covering up his nursing home scandal, and yet at the same time is talking about truth and transparency. And it's like, yes, he is a hypocrite. But there's something much deeper going on here than hypocrisy. They are trying to push the limits of how far they can not just distort the truth, but turn the truth upside down on its head and get the masses to believe it. And you might say, well, Vince, that's what we are here for, right? That's why people with common sense can come out and say, well, that's where censorship comes into play. That's where demagoguing and demonizing people as crazy conspiracy theorists and spreading misinformation for spreading true information, that's where that comes into play. But we'll talk about that in a second, right? But see, what you see from these people is hypocrisy, but it's actually hypocrisy with a reason. It's not just hypocrisy because they're too lazy to follow their own rules, okay? They are trying to see how dumb the populace is. They're trying to see how much they can fool the populace. And to us, that looks like hypocrisy, but what they're doing is actually giving us mirror images of the truth. That's how it all starts. Oh, the real terror threat is in Washington, D.C., while, of course, you see active riots going on in Portland, and people say, the Democrats are such hypocrites. Why don't they send troops to Portland where the real violence is going on? It's not just because they're hypocrites. That's intentional, okay? That's done with a purpose. And more than just trying to distort reality by trying to, you might look at it and say, hey, but, I guess there must be a real terror threat in D.C. if that's where they're putting all the troops, even though, they want people to think that. But even further beyond that, why are they demonizing Trump supporters so much? Why are you seeing literal articles from the news media calling for Trump supporters to be treated like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, okay, to be drone strike? Why are you seeing Trump supporters literally getting arrested for making memes? Well, that's the last part of this. A true authoritarian rules by censorship, fear, and intimidation. They want Trump supporters to be scared. That's why they're trying to treat us like terrorists as much as possible, okay? They want us to retreat into hiding. They want us to shut the hell up. Hey, if you make memes online, you're going to be arrested, even though left-wingers get away with the same exact meme. That's not hypocrisy. They're literally sitting here. They're not just being hypocrites, folks. Get this straight. They are sitting here and telling you right in your face that different rules apply to you than they do to me. And we mean that. It's not hypocrisy. It's not that we accidentally got caught. No, they're trying to tell that to you. They're trying to do that straight to your face. Okay? Get it straight. They're trying to turn Trump supporters into second-class citizens because that's what authoritarians do. That's why they don't care about violence against Trump supporters. That's why they're perfectly happy to let Antifa go assault people and run all over the place in the streets. True authoritarians don't care about order 100% of the time. They only care about order when it keeps them in power. So they're more than happy to let the brown shirts and the black shirts go terrorize their political opponents. They're more than happy to let Mao's Red Guard go and terrorize all the intellectuals and attack all the people that the Communist Party is against. That's what's going on here. I mean, get it straight. Hopefully you can see that. It's not that they're being hypocrites with the issue of Antifa. Hypocrites is way too nice of a term for that. It's intentional. It's intentional, okay? It is straight out of the authoritarian playbook, especially when you compound it with everything else that's going on. That's why you label political opinions that disagree with you as misinformation. You demagogue them as crazy conspiracy theorists, and that's the start. Next, that's just the start. That's the tip of the iceberg. Once you really get going, then you label them as terrorists. Okay? Then you suggest that people who supported Trump need to be drone striked. Okay? Need to be treated like terrorists. Then you suggest that Trump supporters don't deserve civil liberties. Well, of course, there's a reason why they completely ignore all the stuff happening on their own side. It's not just because they're like, oh, they're just stupid. No, it's the point, okay? Get it straight. That's the point. And then guess what? Guess what happens to people who dissent against that? Guess what is happening to people who are trying to call that out? They get silenced. They get censored. They get thrown in the terrorist camp themselves. They get thrown in the gulags themselves. And guess what? Once those people are out of the mainstream, once those people are not able to spread information, they have a total monopoly on their own power. Because now they control the past, they control the history, they get to write the history, and they control the present. They control the flow of information. They control the media. They are going to get to the point where they're completely able to spin truth on its head to make it fit whatever narrative and tell you whatever reality they want to. And that's what's going on here, folks. That is what has been really happening this week. That's what you see from the stupid news coverage from the media. That's what you see from Andrew Cuomo being such a shameless hypocrite. That's what you see from Joe Biden trying to erase American history. At its core, all of it is an authoritarian takeover to create a one-party state here in the United States. And of course, who's on the losing end of it? Us. Who are they after? Us. Okay? So what's going on here? And when you piece it together, you start to realize that these people are not stupid. These people are evil. They want you to be treated differently. Okay? They want different laws to apply to you than to apply to them. Because you, me, that red hat, that's a threat to the authoritarian regime that we're up against. So get it straight here, okay? I hope this podcast made sense if I'm being completely honest, but that's what I saw this week. And that's how hopefully I was able to do it competently, but piece together what might have seemed like a boring news week into something greater, something that you can really tie together. But anyways, folks, I'll do it for this podcast. I know this was a shorter podcast. Like I said, sort of a boring news week, but I wanted to sort of give my thoughts on sort of what I saw and what I took from it. Keep an eye out for this stuff, okay? Seemingly minuscule things like taking rid of Andrew Jackson, getting Andrew Jackson off the 20, Andrew Cuomo being a hypocrite. The more that you think about it, the more that you realize there's something much deeper and more sinister going on here. So keep an eye out. Anyways, folks, that'll do it for this podcast. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll have a little bit better of a podcast on Thursday, honestly. Maybe hopefully more stuff happens that I can like really talk about and not try to piece boring things together to make it entertaining. But until then, remember, alpha moves only, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to click some of the stuff on my left for some more awesome content. Also, to follow me on social media, check out my podcast, and some more awesome stuff, be sure to check out the links down in my description. All right? Peace.